Welcome to Deep Cuff Channel. Great operation from the Ukrainian army. Russian losses reached their peak. HIMARS systems remain the nightmare of the Russian army. Russia is curious about the next move of the Ukrainian army. Putin is in big trouble. Can the Ukrainian army win the war in 2023? South Korea and the United States have moved to provide game-changing assistance to the Ukrainian military. Will a 10 Warthog fighters fly against Russia? Putin is preparing for a bigger war. Latest news from the region is quite remarkable. According to the statement made by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Russia lost 720 soldiers, 2 tanks, 6 armored combat vehicles, 6 artillery systems, 1 air defense system, and 3 tactical unmanned aerial vehicles in the last 24 hours. Before Russia could get over the shock of its first losses, it decided to attack the Ukrainian army. According to the Ukrainian press service, the Russian army tried to carry out 18 air strikes, in addition to 7 missile attacks on the Ukrainian army. Vast majority of attacks took place in the Donetsk and Kherson regions. However, it is stated that the Ukrainian defense forces successfully repelled all attacks in 10 settlements. Russia did not get what it wanted from these attacks. Ukrainian army, which successfully repelled these attacks, took action to remove the Russian troops from their lands. Accordingly, it is stated that the Ukrainian army carried out missile attacks on 5 regions of Russia's Zaporizhzhia Oblast. According to local sources, the missile and artillery units of the Ukrainian army managed to neutralize about 500 Russian soldiers as a result of the operations they carried out in the region. Just at this time, explosion sounds started to come from the strategic Sevastopol region on the Crimean Peninsula. According to sources in the region, Russia neutralized 2 unmanned aerial vehicles that were trying to organize an operation in the city of Sevastopol. Reason for the explosion sounds was explained as air defense systems. While the Ukrainian army did not make any statement about the incident, new events began to take place in the west of Russia. According to Russian sources, the sounds of explosions from Rostov and Kursk regions in Russia increased the tension in the region. In many videos appearing on social media, it is clearly seen that air defense systems have become active. Details of the incident in the region are currently unknown, but Russian officials state that the situation at the front is under control. Ukrainian army has started to carry out many operations with the HIMARS missile systems, especially in the last period. Ever since these systems were delivered to the Ukrainian army, they have been used as a real game changer against Russia. Especially in the last week of December and in the current period, we can clearly see that the Ukrainian army is increasingly relying on HIMARS missile systems. In fact, some Western media sources began to call the HIMARS systems Putin's nightmare. M142 HIMARS continues to prove to be one of the deadliest and most effective weapon systems of all conflict and a real game changer. In addition, the U.S. military has officially confirmed that new HIMARS systems will be sent to the region. Russia, on the other hand, claims that these systems are not as successful as mentioned at the front. It is even stated that as a result of the operations carried out by the Russian army yesterday, 400 Ukrainian soldiers and 4 HIMARS systems were neutralized. Another Russian source stated the number of destroyed HIMARS systems as 8. Here we clearly see that Russia is trying to deceive the whole world with news based on disinformation. Not a single HIMARS system in the inventory of the Ukrainian army was the target of the Russian army. This was officially announced by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. As we enter the new year, Russia is trying to implement small strategies to turn the tide of the war. But the Ukrainian army has significant advantages to win this war. Chief among these are the military might of Ukraine, the resistance of the Ukrainians, the support of Anglo-American allies, Poland and Turkey, and the heroism of Volodymyr Zelensky. Ukrainian army is trying to use all these advantages at the front. In addition, these advantages will gradually begin to increase. Most basic systems used in the war in Ukraine are undoubtedly HIMARS missile systems and unmanned aerial vehicles. While UAVs are changing the situation at the front, the USA is preparing a new UAV package for the Ukrainian army. Although the fate of the unmanned aerial vehicle in the aid package is unknown, we see that all the systems used by the Ukrainian army directly affect the course of the war. It is also known that the Ukrainian army has developed domestically and nationally unmanned aerial vehicles. There are also important developments in the USA's A-10 Warthog warplanes. Sources in the US are giving details about the alleged delivery of US A-10 attack aircraft to Ukraine. After a large Russian military convoy approached the borders of Kiev in March, the Ukrainian authorities announced the need for fighter jets to many NATO countries, especially the USA. At that time, Kiev was asking the West to announce that it was closing its airspace over Ukraine. At the point we have reached, this demand of Ukraine has not been realized. In fact, the U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, who was meeting at that time, and his Ukrainian counterpart Alexei Reznikov agreed that this transfer was not possible. But the latest news from Washington shows that these warplanes could be on their way to Ukraine at any time. In addition, it is stated that the Ukrainian army wants to purchase K-239 Chinmo missile systems from South Korea. There are currently 40 K-239 Chinmo missiles in South Korea that could theoretically be sent to Ukraine. It is known that Ukraine is interested in acquiring such weapons, completely similar to the American HIMARS systems, but at the moment in Seoul there are a large number of systems that can be transferred to Ukraine. Currently, there is no information that Kiev and Seoul are negotiating the purchase of K-239 Chinmo systems by Ukraine. But taking into account the funds allocated to Ukraine, Kiev could purchase 100 K-239 Chinmo systems for delivery before 2025. Both Russia and Ukraine seem to be preparing for a protracted war. Allegedly, Russia will conduct the first tests of the Russian Navy's newest Bory-class submarine in June 2023. Russia will purchase 12 Bory-class submarines by the end of 2031. Emperor Alexander II and Generalissimus Suvorov submarines are the 6th and 7th of the class, respectively. Emperor Alexander II submarine is expected to enter service if successfully passed its tests in August 2023. Thanks to these submarines, Russia is trying to gather its aging submarine fleet. Immediately after this move by Russia, the USA made a very important move towards Ukraine. United States announced that its troops were deployed on a 7-minute missile flight from the Crimea. A very clear statement made by the American media points out that the presence of American troops on Romanian territory is an attempt to protect European countries and strengthen NATO on the backdrop of conflict between Russia and Ukraine. In turn, experts believe that the threat of a real attack from the United States is minimal, as evidenced, among other things, by the successful repulsing of Ukraine's attacks on Crimea. We will continue to monitor the world and especially Ukraine. We'll see what happens in the next few days. We have reached the end of another video. You can support us by liking the video. You can easily follow new videos by subscribing. I wish you all a war-free day. See you.